Hello YouTube, Flashlight Enthusiast here. Another flat EDC flashlight, this time from Rovyvon again. As I reviewed the E90, here I have the model down, the E80, with tons of useful features. The Rovyvon is a true king of Swiss Army knife in flashlights, having multiple different emitters packed in a small flat surface, featuring a high-capacity battery like a traditional cylinder-like flashlight, without leaving you with a bulge in your pants. Definitely an outstanding design, and let's explore together what it offers. I got this flashlight directly thanks to Rovyvon, so if you are interested in this one, make sure to check out the link below this video. Rovyvon E80 comes in an elegant package indicating the flashlight itself, as well as some main functions of this light and, well, some weird package. This is the European distribution, so definitely a worrying fact about the efficiency of this LED. Just kidding. Inside the package you will find a user manual, a short USB to USB-C charging cable, some warranty card, as well as 2 spare screws, a spare USB-C charging port cover and an Allen key. And this is something you'll definitely not miss when you open the package. The flashlight is well protected in the package and is locked out from the factory, and you will need to triple click fast. And now the flashlight is fully operational. Please also remove the dustproof cover from the lens. And this is always a pleasant accent. Highly appreciate Rovyvon. When you first look at the E80 flashlight, you'll definitely not miss that it's a Rovyvon with this quite characteristic design. First things first is the island with 3 LEDs that makes this flashlight quite unique, however also quite bulgy with this additional piece of metal to accommodate the electronics. You got a nice polished surface without any major knurling, however there is a rubber piece at the sides to make the grip better, even with wet hands. There is a stainless steel bezel to help protect the optics, and this time we've got the anti-reflective coated glass here, which is nice. Under the glass we've got 2 individual reflectors in different sizes, as well as the laser output, which is indicated by this sticker from the factory. And the back we've got a really sturdy bidirectional pocket clip, which is definitely on the stiffer side that I would prefer. At the back we've got 2 different switches with different height and also different clicks, which you can distinguish in the dark. The first switch is at the side to control the side light, and we also got a super fast USB-C charging port down there with the battery indicator above. While the body is made of aluminum stated in the manual, I have the impression that the finish makes it appear like a plastic. Is it just me? Please let me know in the comment section below what your impressions are. Nevertheless, the flashlight feels really solid and its build quality is on a high level. It has more like a matte finish, and that's maybe why, but also it quite improves the grip like a sandpaper. We've got a dual directional pocket clip, so this flashlight actually can act as a headlamp if you will, however it is definitely way more stiff than I would expect it to be, and look how thick it is compared to the flashlight body itself, which makes this flashlight quite unstable when lying on the flat surface. So I decided to use the included Allen key to remove the pocket clip completely. Now the flashlight is much slimmer, and I don't use the pocket clip anyway that often. One interesting thing I noticed in the design is I think this flashlight was designed for a left-handed people. Here is in the right hand you've got your thumb on the more protruding switch, however if you like to access the less protruding, you have this in the way. Here you've got your index finger on this side switch and it's also quite fine. However, if you switch to the left hand, now you've got your side switch under your thumb. Here your less protruding switch is not in the way, to the more protruding switch, which I find quite more comfortable, so definitely an interesting observation here. Well, speaking of the UI, let's explore all the features this flashlight has, and it has quite a lot of them. So first things first, let's go through the UI flooding mode from the side switch. So one click will go into the low mode of the white high UI output, one click we're advanced to the medium, one click again to the high mode, one click again to the low mode again, and you hold the switch to turn the flashlight off. Now double tap will go into the red mode. Here again, one tap to advance to the different modes. So here we've got two modes of constant light, one mode for this strobe signaling, and one click again to the, let's say, signaling in a slow fashion. One click again to go into the low mode of red, which is quite bright. I wish there was a third mode of red light like in the white light of the moonlight mode. It would be quite useful. Hold the switch to turn the flashlight off, and mind you that there is no mode memory here in this loop, so it does always turn on in the lowest red or lowest white output. Triple click for the UV light, which actually has a good value plan for money inspections, etc. It does also light LEDs, as you can see. One click to turn it off. Well, UV light is always fun to use, however this flashlight also supports a much more powerful second UV channel, which is located at the front in this smaller orange peel reflector. You activate it by double clicking the less protruding switch, and this one is truly powerful. I spotted a fluorescent paint during my walk to record the Beamshots, and look at the effect. It is fun to play with fluorescent light, money inspections, but also looking for amber. Quite useful in different scenarios. One click to turn it off. With this switch you can also hold it to access the green laser. And here Rovyvon actually offers two different versions, the Chinese one or the global one, and the European one, with the latter having a less powerful laser without any modes. So I've got this version when I can only have one mode here. However, if you have the normal version, you can now click the switch to toggle between high and low mode of laser. However, mine just turns off. Last but not least, there is your white SFT40 LED in quite big reflector for the flashlight size. And yes, thanks to the reflector being so big, it actually does protrude to the edges of the flashlight, meaning the beam is rectangular at the three edges. Doesn't bother me in real life, however, for every perfectionist that is out there, please bear this in mind. For this, you've got your more protruding switch. One click will always access the lowest mode, and now hold the switch to turn the flashlight off. Double tap to access the modes in the loop with mode memory here, and one click will advance through different modes: low or the eco, low, medium and high, which all of them are sustainable without a step down. Hold the switch to turn the flashlight off. Now you've got also your momentary 10-second timed turbo output. When you have the flashlight from off, you hold the more protruding switch, and as long as you hold it, you've got your momentary illumination. After 10 seconds it will step down to high mode, which is highest sustainable mode. Once you depress the side switch, you have the flashlight turn off. Unfortunately, when you have your flashlight turned on constantly, you cannot access the turbo here, which is quite a shame. And for all of you laughing from a square beam, the side light is actually quite perfect in shape and without any artifacts, despite this silly plastic simple optics. That, by the way, is quite easy to scratch accidentally. As the battery is non-removable, you have to rely on a physical electronic lockout here. And this is quite smart. You don't hold the switch, which could be accidentally activated during transportation. However, you have to 5 times press the click. Now you've got those weird blinks like in case of E90. However, now to unlock it, you have to press 3 times. And now you wait for some 3 blinks and the flashlight is fully operational. And I'm not sure why Rovyvon allowed this. However, you can actually access white light and laser at the same time. Every Time you turn on the flashlight, you will have your battery indicator displayed for a couple of seconds. Alternatively, without turning on the flashlight, you can hold the side switch to have it also displayed. I am truly impressed how Rovyvon managed to incorporate a 3000 mAh battery, which is equivalent of the Samsung 30Q cylindrical battery, in such a small little flashlight, meaning the runtimes are quite similar to the standard ordinary cylindrical flashlight. And what is truly nice is, despite you cannot replace the battery as it is built in, you've got the 3 amps charging and USB-C port. Once you plug in your USB-C charging source into the port, the battery indicator or the charging indicator will appear, and you've got precise status of your charging, which does take only around 1 hour, which is just amazing. I think one thing worth mentioning is that while charging, you can always use your flashlight with some restrictions though. Obviously, you can use the lowest output, but in the loop you can only access 2 different modes. Laser is also present, UV as well, and also all the modes in the side switch. Here are my lumen measurements for the main SFT40 LED, and here are the measurements for the sidelight LEDs. If you feel more time, feel free to pause the video. When it comes to the performance, Rovyvon E80 really shines. Here is the high output, so the highest sustainable mode within the loop. So I've measured 839 lumens at start, and as you can see, we've got a nice flat output regulation here with sustainable around 773 lumens and overall runtime of 1 hour and 22 minutes before stepping down to lower modes. Flashlight body stabilized at 58 degrees Celsius minus, so definitely quite hot. When it comes to the sidelight, here I measured the highest white output, and as you can see here, unlike the main channel, we've got linear output decrease over time with some impressive runtime of 3.5 hours before flashlight turn off. So despite the decrease of the brightness, the runtime is definitely on the higher side and you can use it for hours. Last but not least, I also tested the true output, however it is only in momentary mode. As you can see, I've measured a hair under 1800 lumens, which is advertised, and we've got timed 8-second turbo output before a step down to high mode, and you can restart it manually. However, the temperature of the flashlight can achieve as high as 50 or even 55 to 60 degrees after several activations, so beware about that. The battery inside is good, and you've got consistent performance over and over again, as you can see, between 1715 to around 1660 lumens. A solid performance in my view. Overall, Rovyvon proves that you can have it all inside a small, little EDC flat-size flashlight. If you are a true gadgeteer and are looking for a Swiss Army knife in the flashlight world, then definitely look no further than a Rovyvon flashlight, either E80, E90 or other models. They are just so good at packing all the features inside one flashlight. And not only that, the flashlight is made of an excellent way, feels solid in your hand and does provide a good flat regulated driver. The UI is also not that complicated, however some learning curve is definitely required here. The LED choice is quite good, and comparing to other flat EDC flashlight, I got the impression that you've got a really nice beam profile, without mentioning the square beam. And the range is quite impressive for the reflector this size, giving you the impression of having so much more light compared to others. Despite not having a true moonlight mode in the main LED, we've got the side light with high CRI emitter, allowing you to have a small illumination, as well as the red LED, which actually I missed this low mode in this channel, definitely. I was confused at the first glance having two different UV light, however I now understand the purpose of both channels and I appreciate having those too. A definite plus for many users will be fast USB-C charging despite not being able to service the battery yourself. I don't think there is an issue and I feel a good convenience in there. If I can have some wishes to this particular construction, I wish my laser was a little bit more powerful. The red channel had a proper moonlight mode without those old fancy flashing modes, and the turbo output could be activated with the flashlight turned on. Other than that, definitely a truly perfect construction that could be complemented with the titanium edition. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, click the like button, click the subscribe button to support the algorithm and not to miss any future videos they release. If you have any questions or personal comments about this model, please don't hesitate and leave the comment below this video. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one.